Okie doke. Let's start with the wingies. I'm gonna, as always, we start with the darkest value first with those, and I'm gonna work on this side just because I am, and I'm thinking the wings are going to be pretty darn dark on that one. They're going to have on the feathers as they change and they go up from the bottom. It's going to work a lot the same way that the feathers on the chest worked as we moved forward. And so, like on the very, very bottom of those, we're going to start with a darker value on those. That's our darkest value. And then I'm going to do 2 layers of the wings kind of at once. Dark values, sometimes you have to scrub them in a little bit to get them to go, just because they don't always have oil on them. You know, that doesn't have as much oil in the paint with those darker ones. I don't know why, but it is that way. Okay, so that's kind of the beginning of those feathers that we have going across there, and so that they're darker at the bottom and go lighter as they come up the top on those. A little bit of paper towel. Gotta have that always. And I'm just gonna kind of wipe that off. Now I'm going to go to my next darker value, and like I said, these ones are mostly going to be dark just to begin with. And it's already starting to blend a little bit with those. There we go. And let's take that one here. Like I said, I'm doing a couple rows of feathers all at once. And there we go. There's that value we're looking for. And I only want it to change about the 3 values on those. I'm just cozying these right on up to the body of the bird there as well. Like I said, I just did these 3 initial bands of feathers, and they're kind of in a big clump, a big group of feathers. Okay, kind of like that. Okay, so there's that value. Now let's come in and get the medium value. Now I'm going to turn this a little sideways so I don't want to distort the feathers above it there. And it's just a little bit of the medium value in here, not a ton. Because like I said, it's mostly dark. We just need to show where maybe some highlight is, right? And so I want to be able to paint the edge paint right up to the edge of the dark value, kind of like that, and then bring it down into the brown. Have a little bit of a texture on this stuff itself, and so it's sometimes difficult to get in there, and then blending that in so it makes a very smooth transition on this one. A little bit different than what I did on the other with that. Okay, and now this one, as we come back up here once again, a little bit of a transition. And let's go ahead and blend that by painting along the seam, right? Along those lines. I wanted it a little thicker with that darker brown. This is that darker brown. I didn't want it to go quite light that fast. Okay, and so that's starting to look like some feathers for the stuff up here. Now I'm going to come in, and those are kind of my longer feathers. On these ones, let's do this, as we're starting to get some of those ones that have darker little groupings. And so this sort of a thing here, where we have sharper feathers coming down, but we do want the darker values. Okay, then this one may be right between there. And I'll probably end up overlapping some of this stuff that way too. Okay, clean off the brushy. Go to the dark brown. And remember, these were the kind of a pointed feather looking thing. And so off the tops of those, we just want it to go changing values a little bit, like that. I'm leaving just a little bit of room for the top. Okay, that one's going to change a little bit of value. And then this one right here is going to change a little bit of value. Just where I had those little stabs. I need it to have that darker brown in there. Kind of like that. Then I'm going to come to my light value in this little thing here, and it's going to go right up to some of those other feathers. So this one goes from dark to light coming up this way. This one has a little bit of a dark to light shift coming up that way. Now, because of that darkest value that we have there, you might find that you need to clean off your brush a little more frequently because it's got kind of polluted with that darker value. And now these ones from here, because there's a little bit of shoulder that we're gonna see in here, I want this one to come up here. And I'm making just a few little marks because I want to transition, right? As the shoulder rolls up into the head area, it's going to have it's going to get lighter. Kind of like that. That might be just too much. I'm going to blend that just a little bit more so it's not quite as dominant as I saw. I need to break that up a little bit more. So that they read as more as individual feathers rather than having those bands across there like that. Okay. Let's go now to this value, medium value. Remember, these need to change values as they come up. And this is just going to be kind of more of a classical value change with these things, where it goes dark, dark medium, and then the next lighter value right here. And then this is going to be not too, so we really want to see this value change because this is shoulders being exposed to a little bit more light. And so let's do that. Along those lines, and then that was this value here. Is that right? Got black, brown, medium, white, and then the white here. This is going to be tinted kind of as well. As we come down here, it's going to add a little bit of I want that to blend in there. Okay, so that transitions as it comes up. It goes from darker down here to lighter as it comes right up on top there, like that. This part in here we've already painted a little bit with our white area, but I'm thinking to myself, I want to have that actually transition a little bit more from this one. So here's just a little bit of brown left in the brush. And then have this coming out here, blending this also into what's right next to it here. So this blending out into this area. So it's not as harsh of a line, because it is kind of the shoulder of the bird that we have happening here. And this one can blend around. As it comes down here, these can be a little bit sharper on there, but this we need to have a blend because it's where the wing connects on the body, right? And so those feathers are going to have some similarities. I'm blending together. Now some of this paint is dried a little bit on that, and so it's causing to get a little muddy. But fortunately we can cover up what we need. Now I'm going to go back in here and just the border here that's in a little bit of shadow area, I'm going to try and eliminate the make it a little darker. So I'm trying to take out some of the white within this area. Because this part of the body gets rounded back, right? So if there's truly some white in there, I'm going to beat it up a little bit with this lighter value in here like that. I mean, we can still come in here and have little flashes of white on these guys here. This is just pure white, so that it looks a little more mottled. Whoopsies, I didn't want that color, huh? Whoopsies. Okay, so now we have it, so this wing has a little bit more character as it's coming up there, rotates around a little bit, has some overlapping on those. That kind of got a little bit darker than I wanted in some of those areas. I lost some of the definition in here. So I'm trying to get some breaks between the feathers. So that it doesn't look like it's one solid. There are different feathers in this side over here, and so we need to bring that out just a little bit more. And so I'm just kind of blending in some of those darker values across some of those areas so that it looks like there's a little bit more feathers going on in that. Okay. I like that a little bit better with it broken up rather than the solids on that. I think that worked out a lot better. Notice there's a, get my brush clean. Got a lot of black on this brush. So I want it pretty clean as I go in here. Remember I said that some people really like having brushes for specific things. So if they're adding the white paint, they have their white paint brush. If they're adding black, they have their black paint brush on those. Okay. Well, that one looks pretty good. So then we have that's that wing here. The head portion over here did have a lot of white in it that we're looking at, and I painted up into here as we're trying to create that falcony sort of a look that we had. I think, while I still have it here, I think I want to go just a little higher into here, just in case I wanted to do some more stuff with that later. And this part of the head is where it's going to be darker, according to my other diagram on that one. So let's go and hit the other wing over here. It's going to be darker as well, darker on the outside with those feathers on that. So let's start down here at the bottom. I think I'm going to move this in just a little bit. Right here there's kind of a little bit of a divide. I'm going to move this right on up here. And just defining the edge, the boundary between those feathers of the wing and the feathers of the body. A little bit of the darker value. Trying to keep the texture, the rounded shape of those wings though, or of the body feathers. And that's probably going to do the trick right there. About like that. Now this other side was pretty dark, huh, on that. I'm not sure. How do I want that to work? I think what I want is I want the outside portion of the feathers to be a little darker, so I'm experimenting with this one here. To be the darkest value. So there's some feathers here. So that's the outside edge. This one is also going to be an outside edge. Scrub that in a little bit. This can be an outside edge. Okay. Clean off my brush really well. Go to my dark brown on those, and it goes slightly lighter just on the inside feather portion. So this is the inside of this feather. Don't know if you really tell the difference or not. Let's see. Is it inside or is it outside? But we don't need a lot of value changes within here. Okay. Kind of like that. I wonder, let's experiment a little bit. If I had just a touch of that next lightest value, just like that, just a sliver. On being able to do that. Because as soon as you make the stroke of it, it kind of gets all gummed up and gets black. So just a little bit in there. That's too light right there. So that we get just a subtle change. I think I like that. That's cool. One thing I did learn is I don't want as much black. And so these feathers are shortening up a little bit. I think I'm going to make them just a little bit longer than what my drawing was. I think I want them mostly brown. And then of course this one is our outside feather there. Remember, I want a black on the outside or dark on the outside. And it's a little soft on the edge right here, a little softer than what I was initially gonna have on there. And I think I'm just going to take this and curve it so I have the bottom of the wings. Like that. So there's an end point to these feathers down below here. Okay, now I got to get that brush cleaned again. Okay, and so this is the dark brown, right? And so that's going to go right here, which is the bulk of what we're looking for, is that darker brown like that. I'm just going to leave a little sliver of the light in there so I know what I'm doing next. Smart man would be painting with his brush going the other direction, huh? Yeah, Mr. White, why don't you do that? Yeah, I know. Because I'm right-handed. Okay, so this part comes right in here, right next to the black. And then this one too. I don't want to lose the brown color. Don't want it to turn all muddy. Like that. And then the medium value, like I said, just a little bit right along the edge. Medium value right along the edge. That's going to shape the feather because I'm using the tip of the brush. And again here, oops, got too goopy. And then I'm making these kind of pointy in this aspect, so when it comes into the next row of feathers, they're kind of like these pointy feathers. I don't know, what do you think? That's looking okay, huh? But I think that works really well with just the 3 values. Just beat that down a little bit. Okay, let's try for the next row on these. These are still fairly long, elongated feathers. Okay, so I'm going to get this time I'm going to work with the tips kind of here like that, right? The tips are kind of pointy. Kind of like that. Not sure that's exactly what I want to have happen, but let's see what happens. See what it does. And then on this one, I wanted a little bit more overlap. That black really dilutes it, huh? And then this one here, I'm going to have just coming up on this side. The paint's gotten all gummy. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm just pulling a little bit of this black up so it has a little bit of variance in what we're seeing here. And now, get that third value on the inner side, right? That was dominant, huh? More than what I wanted. Let's blend it in a little bit. I want those to blend in a little bit more so it's not as big a change. This one, let's go ahead and go here. Maybe these feathers are starting to come a little bit smaller. And then these ones, I guess we need to have them kind of like those others on the other side, right? And then having them transition a little bit more as they're coming up. And the last little bit we wanted to be white. There's just a little bit of residual paint in there, which is going to work out perfect because that will work for us. Have those streaks down in there, you know, because it is a brown bird and it's not going to have completely white stuff on it. maybe blend it in a little bit more. I'm just kind of a fan of making these streaks that kind of come across and down the wings, where you can see a little bit of the feather changes on there, but we do want these streaks to oh, well, that's terrible. Whoopsies. That wasn't quite what we were looking for, was it? Okay, so I think that takes care of our wing area a little bit. I'm just gonna, right next to the body itself, I want to soften that a little bit, make it, or clean up so there's not as many holes where that wing can kind of fold up under the body a little bit cleaner. So that I can see the scallops of these feathers a little bit more. So I think that's working. I think that's workable. And so this is a little bit lighter on this side than this side is. I was wondering, these ones here, as it comes across here, we have it's pretty even as it comes across. I'm wondering if we need just slightly darker, some darker stuff over on this side. Let's experiment just a little bit. Maybe having the side of these feathers just a little bit generally darker on some of these, just because it is the darker side of where things are, right? Just making a larger presence of the darker values and those value changes on this side of the bird. And I'm going to come back in here, maybe make a larger presence of those medium values too. And now this is the light brown instead of white on these edges. I mean, you can leave a little bit of white still there, right? So as when we look at it, we have a little bit of a darker area over here. This is kind of some of the touch-up stuff we do as we start to fill in a little bit. Just making that base value a little darker. So that when we have our bird, he's starting to look a little more three-dimensional. So it's lighter up here. As it rotates back to this back side, it goes a little bit darker. Now some of this is dried. The paint underneath is dried a little bit, so when I paint this little bits of stuff over top, it has a little bit of a texture to it. That's kind of cool. So I'm just brushing on top of some of that textural stuff. Oopsies. Ah, it got too dark. That's not bad. I'm liking that. And I think that's probably good for where we are right now on that one. That one video ran a little long, huh? Okay.